I'm Becky Allen, an A-level media student at the Billericay Sixth Form. This year, the A2 media coursework task was to choose from a selection of briefs, each with a main task and 2 ancillary tasks. This range of products meant that our creations branched across different media platforms and allowed us to expand our knowledge as prosumers. I chose the brief which allowed me to create a music video, accompanied by a magazine poster and a digipack for the album, all of which would work together to promote an artist. My music video was to the song Iris by the band the Goo Goo Dolls and was covered by Annabelle Carr. This task was considerably more difficult than that of last year, which involved creating an approximately 3-minute opening sequence to a thriller film. Throughout the process of creating these 3 products, I have used a range of digital technologies including Final Cut Express, iMovie and Tumblr. Research is the process of finding out about and studying materials in order to establish facts and reach conclusions. I did this to establish the typical conventions that producers would encode into a media product. I did this in order to incorporate the real media conventions into my own work, making them recognisable to the viewer. My research process began by using the internet to research already existing music videos in order to conduct my music video analysis. This task would allow me to research into the real media conventions that are used within the genuine music videos. For example, the mixture of narrative and performance and the use of costume codes to represent individual characters within the videos. I could then choose whether to conform to these conventions or to subvert them within my own music video. The use of YouTube as a search engine was crucial to this aspect of my research, as it allowed me to find examples of music videos which were readily available on the site, demonstrating democratisation, as this would also be where I shared my own production. This research into existing media products allowed me to recognise and mimic real media conventions that would allow my audience to decode the narrative and recognise the piece as a music video. In comparison to my Year 12 research, this was a more advanced technique as I focused on specific technical areas, for example mise-en-scène or narrative. In order to focus on these elements of film, I first had to research them in terms of media theories. This involved using the internet again to research the motive and conclusions behind each theory. For example, Todorov's narrative theory and particularly Goodwin's music video theory, as this applied directly to my brief of creating a music video. I used a similar technique when researching into already existing examples of posters and digipacks for promotion. I used the internet to find examples of each promotion technique in order to learn about the real media conventions that are used in such packages. As well as this, I paid specific attention to how synergy was created between different related media products, which subtly linked them together. I considered how I could create synergy between my own products using the new knowledge. For example, I discovered that many digipack album covers, such as Paramore's Riot, have visual links to scenes within the artist's music videos, which in this case would be the song Misery Business, which incorporates the album artwork into the mise-en-scène of the video. I utilised this use of digital technology within my own products, where I showed my knowledge of how real media products create synergy by creating my own, for example, by using the same mask as a prop in all 3 of my products. To analyse my chosen examples, I used Microsoft Word to annotate around the images. I analysed aspects such as the use of image, typography and providing of information to the audiences. By doing this, I was able to decide which aspects I would use in my own promotional package. Another useful program when analysing was Prezi. Prezi allows users to create quick and effective slideshows that hold a lot of information. I used this to analyse digipacks such as the Beatles' White Album. A huge aspect of my research was the use of my focus group. My focus group consisted of a group of students with an equal mix of boys and girls aged 17 to 18. Each participant was a media student, meaning that their opinions were well informed by their knowledge of media texts. This group stayed relevant throughout the whole production process and were used to answer questions and give opinions on creative decisions. For example, they were asked which performer they preferred and which song choice they preferred. These additional opinions helped me to make the important creative choices throughout my research and planning stage, as well as through production. This is a clear improvement from my research phase last year, as I did not use a focus group or any form of questionnaire, meaning that my project was not as heavily influenced by my target audience, meaning that my creative decisions were not influenced by the same things that genuine media producers would be. When researching my ancillary task, I used Photoshop as a practice tool in order to practice constructing promotional posters and general images to accompany my main music video task. I used the software to edit together a copy of an already existing album cover, which helped me to prepare for the real task at a later stage. This is an example of how my skills have progressed from Year 12 to Year 13, as in Year 12 I had no experience using Photoshop as a software, whereas in my Year 13 project the software was the main tool for creating a promotional package, expanding my knowledge of different media technologies. Throughout the planning phase of my project, I used social media blogging website Tumblr to upload the process of creating my main and ancillary tasks and presenting my work. This site as a platform allowed me to upload photos, videos, text and links to useful sources that I had referenced throughout my project, for example Photoshop tutorials on YouTube. This website allowed me to organise my progress and document my actions, whilst also making my work more interesting by allowing me to upload differentiating posts in different forms, such as making focus group videos, filming diaries and blooper videos. The planning phase of my project was considerably more advanced than that of my Year 12 project in terms of the use of media technologies. An example of this is my Year 13 storyboarding. I used iMovie and a scanner to create an animate storyboard. This made the plan for my music video much more vivid and clear, and also helped with the timing of my music video. This was particularly useful with regard to filming the narrative aspect and timing the lyrics with the appropriate scenes. This was a huge improvement in comparison to my Year 12 storyboarding technique. Last year I used a basic and small storyboarding template to draw rough sketches of main shots that I wished to be included in the opening sequence. These shots remained on paper, which I took photos of and uploaded to my blog, rather than creating an animate storyboard to bring my idea to life. Another example of an improvement from last year's planning was my use of iMovie to create various videos documenting aspects of my planning. These videos included a costume choice video, makeup trials and prop making. This allowed me to communicate my process clearly and in a more interesting way. This is impressive in comparison to my planning in this area last year, which consisted mostly of brief photographs and explanations of the props and costume choices. This method did not showcase my knowledge and capability when using different forms of media technology. Constructing the videos also allowed me to practice editing footage effectively in preparation for creating my music video. When creating a costume choice video, I conducted further research into other topics that inspired creative decisions within my video. When deciding on a costume code for my main protagonist character, portrayed by Leanne Judge, I used research sites such as Wikipedia to conduct research into distinctive subcultures of the 1960s and 70s. From this, I found the subculture by the name of skinheads, whose edgy style of dress inspired the final costume code for Leanne, featuring iconic clothing items such as Doc Marten boots. I decided to conduct test filming footage this year to ensure that the lighting in the different locations would be sufficient. I did this to avoid having to refilm any footage that was spoiled by the lighting that was either too light or too dark. My knowledge of media technologies helped me in this stage of planning, as I was able to change and adjust the ISO settings of my camera to adjust to the different lighting. This allowed me to find where the most suitable locations would be, and also made each location more versatile, as I could change the ISO to adjust to the lighting depending on the weather conditions which affected the natural light. Last year, I did not conduct test filming, which left me vulnerable to filming images of a low quality as a result of lighting conditions. The concept of test filming was also used in the planning of my ancillary tasks, as I experimented with the ISO settings in a similar way when performing test shoots for both my poster and digipack. By creating contact sheets of my experimental photographs, I could clearly see which ISO settings were effective and which were not, as well as establishing the best choice in location and camera angle for the digipack and poster. This year, before recording my music video, I purchased a new Nikon D5200 to record the footage. This camera is of a much higher quality than the camera which I used last year that was provided by the school. This allowed me to record higher quality images that are clearer and sharper. My experience with this camera also allowed me the confidence to switch the settings from auto to manual. This meant that I was able to adjust my camera to suit my surroundings depending on the location and lighting. Last year, I was unable to utilise the tools and settings available on the camera I used as I was unfamiliar with the equipment. Using a piece of equipment that I was familiar with allowed me to utilise it to its full extent, adjusting the aperture and ISO accordingly. Technology was used very successfully in the recording of my performer Annabelle Carr singing my chosen song Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls. To record this aspect of my video, I chose to use the Billericay School studio. I chose this location as it is equipped with professional recording equipment and a sound technician who is available for help when needed. This studio was also a very convenient and close location, which did not need to be paid for in order to be booked for several hours. The studio is also a realistic location in which to record a performer singing, creating verisimilitude within my video. Using the equipment available within the studio, I was able to record Annabelle's vocals and manipulate these to fit with the karaoke music to Goo Goo Dolls' Iris. The karaoke version was used in order to avoid the overlapping of two sets of vocals when recording Annabelle. In comparison to my Year 12 work, this was a much more professional and sophisticated method of recording sound. Throughout Year 12, my knowledge of sound recording did not surpass the use of a basic recorder. This equipment was sufficient for my Year 12 project, but would not have been appropriate for recording a full song and vocals to a good standard. When I began editing my music video, I transferred the footage from a 16GB memory card to an external hard drive. From the external hard drive, I uploaded the footage to a Final Cut Express project to begin manipulating the footage. The most crucial technology that has been used throughout the process of creating my music video is the use of the editing program Final Cut Express. This program has been used consistently throughout the project to edit together previous footage to create my final product. Final Cut has been incredibly beneficial in the editing process thanks to the sophisticated editing tools that are available within the program, including the ability to crop individual frames, change the speed of individual sections of footage, and change the lighting within frames. These aspects make the program more useful and effective in terms of editing than alternative programs like iMovie, which is limited in terms of tools and options. These tools have had a direct effect on the outcome of my own music video, specifically the ability to slow down specific frames and pieces of footage. I utilised this tool several times throughout the post-production stage of my project. For example, towards the end of my music video, I used the tool to slow down several pieces of footage to a speed of around 60%, giving the effect that the affected footage is longer and slower, thus having a larger impact on the audience as the image remains on the screen for longer. Using Final Cut, the footage is very easy to manoeuvre, making the editing process relatively quick and simple. When constructing and filming my final footage that was used in my music video, I often use iMovie to construct filming diaries in order to keep track of what I had recorded on each separate day. This helped me to evaluate the quality of my footage in small loads by editing the captured footage together in a sequence that roughly demonstrated what I intended for the final product to look like, and decide quickly what would eventually need to be refilmed in order to improve the final product. I used iMovie to annotate the images as they appeared, analysing what I felt were the better aspects of each shot, as well as the less effective parts. The program LiveType was useful in construction of my final sequence in terms of editing in titles. I used LiveType to recreate the look of music video titles that feature on music channels, using a simple font to add the artist's name and the title of the song in the bottom right corner of the screen. The titles appeared at the beginning and end of the music video, just as they would feature on a music television channel. My extensive experience with using LiveType last year to create titles to feature in an opening film sequence meant that I was familiar with this aspect of media technology, making the process faster.